hello, good afternoon, and welcome once again to another family talk time with the Dookies. Um, lovely, lovely guys. We almost didn't make it. I don't know. Somehow our stuff, our camera and everything was not working. Decided it wouldn't work, but we're so happy to be able to be with you today. And we do have a rather riveting topic, I think. We are discussing deadly assassins in the marital relationship. Now, we have 7 of those, but we're only sharing 3 of these slayers with you. So grab your tea, grab your husband, grab your wife, and let's get into this conversation because it's something you do not want to miss. It's time to put a stop to these slayers and take back your marriage. And tell you what, we would want you to share. We're asking you to share this link right now. Just click share. Share to all your friends because this is for them. This is for everybody. All right. So for those who are just joining us for the first time, welcome. And it's my name is Sania Dookie and
Courtney Dookie.
So we are a husband and wife team, ministry partners. What do you call us? We are both psychotherapists in our private practice, but we also co-found Dookies Institute is an organization with a mission to empower and renew and transform Christian families, Christian marriages, and parents. So we're always happy to share with you.
It's a blessing, and sometimes it's so, as we looked at the topic we're talking about today,
Yes.
It's identifying what I call simple things, but they're profound enough that some researchers even predict that at least 4 of the things we're going to talk about, not probably today, but 4 of these 7 things, if they are present in any marriage, there is a 96% chance of divorce, or you live in a marriage that is chaotic,
toxic.
So those are the 2 ways you look at these things. If you don't eradicate and deal with these challenges in your marriage, there is a 96% chance of divorce, or living in a marriage that is very painful. So I think it is very significant that at least we introduce at least a few of these to those who are listening in our Dookies Institute family.
Yes, so we are going to go right into this. Before we do, though, we want to ask you we're inviting you, what am I saying? I'm being very passive, but we are cordially inviting you to our free 2-part webinar, which will be on April 25 and 26. On April 25, we will be getting into attachment or attachment style and how it affects our marital relationship, which inevitably streams down to our parenting as well. On the 26th, we will be talking about your parenting style and how, because of the approach we take sometimes in our parenting, it can affect our children. It can push our children and our teens away from us, and we become blunders or not influential in our children's lives. So how do we do this in a healthy way? You want to know? Sign up. We're going to put the link below for this free webinar. Don't miss it. We're looking forward to joining with you there.
Yes. And as you were saying before, attachment underlines almost all relationships.
Yes.
It's so crucial that we understand our attachment styles and how it's affecting. So I look forward to seeing anyone and all the couples that will tune in on that for those 2 days together.
Yes. All right. So Dr. Dookie, can you please show us just a quick peek of what these 7 deadly assassins of a marriage looks like?
So let me share them. I think we have this cog here that we can try and share them. So let's do that really quick here. So
we're just going to give you a sneak peek. And guys, if you want to learn about, this is actually one section under conflict management in relationship
Yes.
within our marital transformation program, coaching program. All right. We're giving you a sneak peek.
Yes. So
three with you.
there are numerous things we're going to talk about in
Yes.
terms of conflict management, because what we've learned about relationship is this. The Gottman said that there are two types of relationships, basically. There are those who are masters and those who are disasters at relationship. And the big difference between masters and disasters is that the masters know how to manage conflicts. And that's when, therefore, in our program, the conflict management section, we spend a lot of time looking at different ways to manage conflict, how to identify different problems.
Yes.
And this, what we call the 7 marital assassins. These are 7 things that in my own practice and in research, we've recognized that these 7 things, if they're not dealt with in relationships, they can cause a tremendous impact, negative impact in the relationship. Today, we're going to talk about 3 of them. So for those who are looking, you may see all 7 on the screen, but we're talking about 3 of them, which the poisonous startup, that's one we're going to talk about. And we're going to talk about the pseudo-righteousness and pompous pride. So those are the 3 we're going to briefly talk about. We probably don't have time to really dig into either of those 3 in details.
Yes.
But when it comes to, if we look at it, these 3 things in terms of poisonous startup, it's kind of self-evident.
Yes.
In that the way how we start a conversation has a lot to do with how that conversation is going to end. So we often say that the first 3 to 5 seconds of any conflict, of any conversation, the first 3 to 5 seconds determine how it's going to end. And that's what we're talking about when we get into this idea of poisonous startup. We poison the interaction between a husband and a wife based on how either the husband or the wife start the conversation.
So, what does a poisonous startup look like?
So a poisonous startup could be something like this. I'm going to talk to you about something, and I come and I'm like, Sania, you never get this before. You're always leaving this thing. You're always not listening to me. That's a poisonous startup, because I come with the attack kind of a mode. I just come in and I'm like, you don't get it.
Yes.
You keep doing the same thing over and over and over again. When are you going to get it? You don't understand me. When
he's pretending, but guess what? My survival mechanisms just kicked in and my walls just shoop right up. So imagine if he wasn't pretending,
Yes.
Imagine if your spouse was not pretending and they came in and said this to you. Right then and there, you're not listening anymore. You are now surviving the situation, right? And so that is why it's very, very important when you want to talk to your spouse about something that you make sure you set the stage, because yes, there are going to be things that affect us. We are hurt by some things that our spouse do, and we're not saying, in fact, we say, talk about it. If you're not talking about it, then you are suffering in that relationship. So now it's about setting the stage for having that conversation. So what is a better way of starting now? Okay,
So
get the wall down, get it down.
So let's talk about starting a compassionate conversation.
Okay.
Or there's 2 things we look at in this area. One is a compassionate startup, and 2 is attunement, personal attunement, or attune to my own self, my own being, and what's going on in my body. But if we talk about compassionate startup, that means I'll come to you like, honey, I felt as if you were not listening to me when I said A, B, C, and D, or I felt offended when this happened. Can we talk about it? So I'm coming with maybe a complaint, because we can complain in a relationship.
Yes.
We just can't attack the other person with that.
Abusive
So I can come in and I can make a complaint to you that something happened, and it makes me feel this way, or once I'm physiologically soothed within myself, I can come to you and I can mention to you that, you know what, I would love to talk to you about something. It's been on my heart, it's been on my mind, and I really like to talk to you about
So
it.
you're saying that if I'm upset about something, if I'm angry, if I'm irate, don't don't confront at that time.
Don't. Actually, that's one of the when you, if you look at the cogs, I just put it back there real quick. We plan to talk about three, but just to answer your question, if you look at this, one of them we have is physiological arousal. And physiological arousal is in the red for a reason, because we have to understand our own physiological state before we start a conversation. And that's why it's like number one, it starts with that. I need to understand, first of all, my own physiological state before I approach my partner. And if my heartbeat is over 100 beats a minute and I'm not Usain Bolt, I'm an athlete where it requires
didn't just come from running
or something like that. If my heart rate is, then if the increased heart rate means a disintegrated brain. Meaning, what I mean by disintegrated brain is that the limbic system, the emotional brain, no longer communicates with the cognitive or the thinking brain. And that's because of my physiological arousal. If I come to start a conversation like that, I am going to start with the poisonous startup rather than a compassionate engagement where I come and says, no, sweetie, or Sania, there's something that I really need to talk to you about. Is this a good time? And that's an important thing. Sometimes we may be burning with something that we want to talk about. Want to talk about it.
To get it out.
But the other person may not be in that space.
They're not ready to receive.
So again, we're talking about the difference between masters of relationship and disasters of relationship. And this is how the Gottmans sort of define relationship. So that's how we have this thing called the poisonous startup to deal with it. One of the major ways in dealing with it is what we call compassionate conversation.
Yes. So so we're hearing, if you're angry or very emotionally aroused, do not approach. If you are not connected with us, let us know. I'm getting a message here that you're not connecting with us. For those who, we did have a old link that expired and we had to get a new link. So I don't know if those individuals are trying to tap into the old link and that's why they're not connected. So please refresh and you'll see our new link. And please join us. So first, we need to ensure that our body's calm, we're soothed. And then secondly, as we approach our spouse, we need to ensure, thanks for confirming for us. Appreciate that. So the next thing is you want to make sure that your spouse is in the mindset to receive your message. So even if you're blowing up and you need like, oh my gosh, I got to talk about this right now. If you find that your spouse is saying, I don't want to talk right now, we have to also respect that.
Yes, and very important, because if my spouse, if you're in a triggered state or you're not in a mindset to listen at that point in time, it doesn't make sense. Then we're going to end up in one of the biggest thing we try to avoid in couples relationship, the defense attack or the attack defense mode. We don't want to get into that state. Therefore, I can, if it's something burning, if it's important, think about it. If it is a important topic that I want to discuss with you, ask yourself the question: which state of mind is it better to discuss that in? Wouldn't it make more sense that both of us are in a state of mind that we can discuss that issue? If not, then we're not going to get anywhere, because I may say it the wrong way, the poisonous start up. And by saying it the wrong way, rather, or the right way, depends on the state you're in, the reception of that. Another thing that is important for this, and we're getting into a lot of it here, is that based on the way how I start that conversation, that's how we call it the poisonous startup, it determines what chemical is released in your spouse's body. It's so powerful. Listen to this, guys. based on, if we eliminate the poisonous startup and start the conversation with compassionate communication, we can actually stimulate the release of dopamine in our partner's
What's
brain.
dopamine?
Dopamine feels good.
Yes.
Connection.
Feel good hormone.
Feel good.
Connection hormone.
However,
A reward.
if I comes with the poisonous startup,
Yes.
it actually releases cortisol. Cortisol is a stress hormone. So the way how and that's why it's so important to really understand the power of this poisonous startup, because it can mess relationships
So
up.
I want to pause there, and I always say that scripture knows what it's saying when it says what it does.
Yes.
Colossians 4 verse 6 says, let your conversation be always full of grace, seasoned with salt, so that you may know how to answer everyone.
There you go. Compassionate startup.
Isn't this a genius, right? Scripture is saying, hey, you don't want to stress people out. You don't want to create a defense mechanism going on or create wall between you. So when you say whatever you say, let it be seasoned with salt. Let it be flavored. And, Jamaican, put a little spice on it too, just so it does not shut the other person down. And that is really counterproductive to what you are trying to do in the first place. The other thing I heard coming up from you is that do not attack the person's character, right?
Yes. And we talk about that in one of the cogs here.
All right. So let's move on.
That one wasn't a part of the list. But the other one we're looking at for today is Pseudo-Righteousness.
All right. I love that name. So get into this for us. What is Pseudo-Righteousness? And guys, we want to hear from you. What are the different communication startups you think people generally say, which you think or you realize, hey, no, that's actually poisonous, right? So type your comments below. We want to hear them. And now we're going into the pseudo-righteousness.
So pseudo-righteousness, basically, I think I'm better than you. And what do I mean by I'm? How can you not get this?
How can you not get
this? Yeah, it is so. We've been going over this over and over. Why can't you get it? Are you that? I'm not sure what's going on with you. But we've been together for so long, and this simple thing you can't understand. In other words, I put myself in a upper position over my partner. And we have this kind of up here, I'm up here, she's down here, and I speak down to her. Yeah. That's what we refer to as pseudo-righteousness. It's this thing where I'm better than you. I can't believe you're that. Basically, what I'm saying, how can you be that dumb? How can you not get it? And that's also a deadly assassin for relationships. Because then you're going to walk on eggshell. You can't feel happy. You can't feel connected in a relationship because of what's going on.
Yes. So we're hearing a lot of content in our conversation. Yes. And we're saying that we shouldn't try to elevate ourselves above the other person. And we know that everyone is equal at the foot of the cross. We should not dare treat the other person as if we are higher. So what we need to do is get into the other person's world and see where they're at and while they're doing the same thing to us. So I'm getting some message here that there's some connection issues going on with our feed. Guys, please let me know what you're seeing on your end. I am really sorry about that, but it seems to be very frustrating here. Let us know what you're getting on your end. Thank you so much.
For the technical difficulties, not sure what's happening.
We apologize for that technical difficulty. All right, so let's move on to our third.
So we've talked about the poisonous startup, the pseudo-righteousness. For pseudo-righteousness, to deal with it, just before we move on to the next one, pseudo-righteousness, we create a culture or an environment of appreciation. So like when we say the poisonous startup, we try to get into compassionate conversation. For the pseudo-righteousness, we seek how to appreciate our partner, how to show affection to our partner. So we talk about creating in your marriage a culture of appreciation. And that culture of appreciation is almost what we call, the Gottman would say, culture of appreciation is the antidote for this kind of contentious behavior or approach in relationships.
Yes. So show appreciation, show openness, show compassion, and we definitely go into details, into further details in our marriage transformation coaching program. We don't have enough time in the day to go through this. So we're going to go to the last one. And what is the last one?
The last one is...
So we're so sorry about the technical difficulties. Actually, that's what we had that issue earlier, and we need to rectify that. We're going to try and figure that out. But, pray us up, because this information is needed out there, and we don't want these things to be happening.
Yes, so hopefully we get it figured out before our next
yes,
our next one. The third one we'll talk about today is what I call pompous pride.
Pompous pride. We had to put that one in.
The reason I call it pompous pride is this thing where I'm in a relationship, I know I'm wrong.
Yeah.
I know I did something wrong.
Mm-hmm.
But my pride says I can't apologize to you. I can't come to you and say, you know what I said earlier, what I did, I was wrong.
Oh my gosh.
And I am sorry for that.
Yes.
And I need your help.
Yes.
And I need your help not to do it again.
Yeah.
And I'm asking for your forgiveness.
Yes.
And sometimes we don't want to do that because we think we're losing, we're losing the battle.
Yes.
But it's actually, so pompous pride sometimes get in the way of us approaching our partner with a sense of, and the antidote for this is to approach your partner with a sense of humility, and love.
This is kind of off topic, but I don't know if any of you guys see that video with that little baby that was crying for the orange, and the mom was saying, no, this is not an orange, this is an onion, and the baby saying, no, I need it. And then the mom eventually gave the child the onion is good for your sinuses, by the way. And that child sat and was eating the onion as if he or she was eating an apple. Now, when I saw that video, I'm like, that's how we are sometimes. We are so persuaded that we're right, and then eventually it's just boom in our face. We're so wrong, but because we have that pompous pride, we don't want to heed and say, okay, I was wrong. I was wrong. I'm sorry. We still want to stay into the wrongness.
Yes.
And that turns around hurting us.
Yes.
And hurting our relationship in the end.
And to deal with it, what we simple ask couples to do. That's simple. This is really, again, this ties into attachment, because the way how I may come about something, I grew up where getting an apology or giving an apology is not something, I find that to be a weakness. And to say I'm sorry is to say that I'm weak and something is wrong with me.
That's a powerful point, really. That's a really powerful point.
And a lot of this is in relationships.
Yes.
I want to be right all the time. But the power behind this, when I humble myself and seek forgiveness from my partner, actually, both of us win. And one of the things I talk about in this same program, in our family program, is how do we get to this place where there's more we-ness than me-ness. I talk about that from the perspective of interpersonal neurobiology as the power of what it does to the brain in terms of this we-ness and me-ness, or we-ness and I versus we, and what that does in the brain, especially if a couple working together. Therefore, to deal with pompous pride, we talk about humility. Coming to my partner with this sense of humility that, yes, I messed up. There's a verse that have confessed your sins one to another. In other words, confess your faults one to another. I have some faults in my relationship. I'm not perfect. And sometimes those faults that I have show up their ugly heads. And when they do show up and they take control of me, I have to go to you, or within different relationships, you have to go and say, look, I'm sorry. I'm at fault here. and I ask for you for your forgiveness, and that's where healing. And guess what? If we practice this in our relationship, it takes the marriage to a different level.
It does. It does. It really deepens the connection
Yes.
between both persons.
Yes.
So the first one was avoid poisonous startup. Second one was
basically in terms of pseudo-righteousness.
Yes.
And the pseudo-righteousness is me above my partner. For that, we talk about how to build a culture of appreciation and connection to deal with the pseudo-righteousness.
Yes.
And then we talk about pompous pride.
Yes.
Is how do we humble ourselves and not be
We
prideful.
need to humble ourselves. You know that song, humble yourself in the sight of the Lord. And that's what Jesus was about. He was the most humble person ever. And one of the last greatest messages that he gave his disciples on earth was to be servant leadership. And that is the type of character that we need to have as well in our relationship. When we are about pride, I'm better than you, I'm brighter than you, and all that stuff, I'm sorry, you know, that marriage, that relationship is going to suffer unless some things start to change. So, you know,
and that's the point of it, Lisa. If these things are in the marriage, there is for the Gottmans, they say 4 things, and we'll talk about that. If these things are in relationship, there's a 96% chance that you will have a divorce.
So we don't want that, family. We do not want that. And it stops now. It needs to stop now. Okay. You know, show your spouse this video and say, hey, you know, we got some things to talk about. And if you need to learn how to cut through these deadly assassins, give us a call. Yes. We are here. This is what we do. Our desire is to transform your marriage, realign you with each other and with God.
Yes.
And so that's why we're sharing these things with you to see how they can help.
And what we have done, we've briefly shared 3.
And there are 7.
And there's 7 of them.
And that's under conflict management alone. It's amazing. I love it, guys. I love this marriage transformation program. You hear us, we keep talking about it, but you know, we're going to be launching that program pretty soon. More details to follow. But if you want to join our wait list, just let us know. In the meantime, we have our free 2-part webinar, which will be on April 25 and April 26. We're going to be putting the link below so you can register right away. We're going to be talking about attachment in the relationship. What is your attachment style? You will have access to a quiz where you can know what your attachment style is. And also, what is your parenting style? So you'll also be given a quiz as well, free quiz, so you can know what your parenting style is. So register for this free webinar, and we look forward to seeing you on the 25th and 26th. Until next time, we thank you so much for joining us, and we hope that this was very insightful.
And sorry again for the video. We hope that as we go on, we'll figure out what went wrong today. Thank you guys so much, and bye-bye.